Hi there, thanks for stopping by. Today I have a special guest. Our granddaughter Beth is here, and we'll be doing some pantry mixes. We're going to do a series of pantry mixes, and I hope that you'll follow along. It's going to be fun. The first thing that we're going to do is to make cream of soup base. Have you ever bought these cream of soups? The cream of chicken, cream of broccoli, cream of mushroom, cream of celery, cream of potato. There's all different kinds. I buy them for casseroles and that kind of thing, and I actually really like them, except my husband has to be careful about sodium intake, and so I have to buy the unsalted, and they're quite salty in price. So I'm going to make my own cream base, and I think that you're going to want this recipe. It's very easy, and it's just put these things together, and then you use 1/3 cup with a cup of water to equal the same amount here. So you know what ingredients are in there. You can put in your own seasonings. Okay, to start off, we need 4 cups of dry milk. We went ahead and measured everything out. We actually, it took quite a while to get that all done, but it's so much easier to do that. And one of the things about making your own is that it takes a little time at the time, but then it's more convenient to just pull it out of your pantry when you're ready for it. So we started off with 4 cups of dry milk, and then we will add 1.5 cups of cornstarch. That will be the thickener. And then this is a cream of chicken base, and all of the others will have the cream of chicken bouillon in them, but you can add your other fillings like mushrooms and celery. I don't really use the cream of celery much, and so I just have a small little container that when I want to make it, I'll add 1/2 cup. But I do use cream of mushroom a lot, so I will make 1 batch with cream of mushroom. So you can go ahead and put that in. 1/2 cup of chicken bouillon. And we are not adding any salt to this recipe because of the sodium that's in the bouillon. And then we need 2 tablespoons of dry minced onion and 1 teaspoon of black pepper ground. Okay, and that's all it is. And then we'll stir that together. And then once she's finished with that, we'll put it in a container. And then when we're ready to make it, we will, in a saucepan, we will mix 1 cup of water to 1/3 cup of the mix, and then heat it on medium and just keep stirring, bring it to a boil. And then once it's as thick as you want, then you go ahead and use it for whatever purpose you want. Okay, you know, I'm not sure how many cans of cream soup that is exactly, but I know that it's a lot more economical than buying the cans and a lot better for us. So I'm excited about that. Okay.
And you only need 1/3 cup of this mix.
Yep, to 1 cup of water.
Sweet.
Yeah. So then I'll put a label on to label what it is and the recipe for reconstituting it. And then I will store it in a cool, dry place for up to about a year. So sounds like a good deal. So we will be making an all-purpose baking mix. It will be the same as like a box of Bisquick. I don't buy Bisquick, I just buy the cheap version, but it is something that I like to keep as a staple in my pantry. You can use them for making pancakes or biscuits or shortbread or dumplings. There's just so many different things that you can do for them or with them. So we're going to put together our own mix so we can make it a lot cheaper and know exactly what's in it. Okay, for the all-purpose baking mix, we need 6 cups of flour. you can change these recipes. You can cut them in half. You can do single portions. I'm just doing this portion, and this is the equivalent of a box or so in my pantry. So that's why we're starting off with so much. So starting off with 6 cups of all-purpose flour, and then we will be adding 3 tablespoons of baking powder, and then 1 tablespoon of salt. And this is for the whole mix, so it's a lot of salt, but it's for the whole mix. And then we'll go ahead and stir that together. And in this mix, we will be adding a fat. Normally when you put something on your pantry shelf, you don't add fat, but I'm adding shortening. You could add lard also, but you want something that will be shelf stable. So you would not want to put butter, or you would have to keep it in the refrigerator or freezer. If you'd rather have butter, that would be fine. So we're going to add 1 cup of shortening, and we're going to have to cut that in. You can use a pastry blender, or you can just use a couple forks. But to cut it in, you just simply cut through it and mix it in with the flour. So do you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. Until it's like a cornmeal texture.
So you don't want any clumps.
No big clumps, right. Mm-hmm. And this all-purpose recipe I have used for years, and our favorite shortcake actually is from a baking mix like this.
Ooh.
And any other recipes that you make with Bisquick, you can make with this baking mix. And if you would like more recipes, you can go on Bisquick website and look for other recipes that you can make with it. And you can use other flours too. You don't have to use all-purpose flour. If you're gluten-free, you can use whatever flour works best for you. And then we'll go ahead and put that in the container. I plan to have labels all made up, but my printer stopped working, so I'll just have to put the labels on later. It's helpful to have a funnel. You don't have to have a funnel, but it helps. Do you have a favorite Bisquick recipe that you like to use? If so, comment below. So now we have, it looks like it's about the equivalent of a box of the Bisquick mix. So there you have your shelf-stable baking mix. So I hope that you'll try this. Okay, so with the baking mix, we will have some recipes down below, just some of the basic recipes like the dumplings and the biscuits and shortbread and impossible cheeseburger pie, some of those. But if you would like more recipes than that, you can find those on the Bisquick website. So check that out. Another pantry necessity for me is cornbread mix. And I don't necessarily always use it to make cornbread, but I use it in a lot of casseroles to make a cornbread type base. But I really like having like a Jiffy mix, but there again, it's nice to know what's in your ingredients, and then you can control the salt or whatever it is that you're trying to cut back on. And like I said before with other recipes, that you can, if I'm using all-purpose flour, but if you want to use a different flour, you can do that. And if there are things that you want to add to this mix, you can do that. But always remember when you're making the mix that you don't want to add anything that is not shelf stable. Okay, so we will start off with 4 cups of all-purpose flour and 3 cups of cornmeal, 1/2 cup of baking powder, and 1 cup of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of salt. And then we'll go ahead and mix we'll go ahead and mix that together. And this recipe here is the equivalent of 6 boxes of Jiffy mix. All right, that looks good. Yeah, we'll go ahead and put this in a container. To make the recipe, you will need 1 1/3 cup of the mix. So if you want to divide this into 6 parts and put the mixes in a Ziploc bag or in mason jars or whatever, that would be an idea that might be easier for you. And then when you're ready to make it, you'll use your 1 1/3 cup of mix, and you will put that in a bowl and add 1 egg, 1/2 cup of milk, and 2 tablespoons of melted butter or oil. And then spread the batter into a greased 8x8 baking pan, or you can scoop it into 6 or 7 prepared muffin tins. And bake at 400 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes until the top is just lightly brown. So it's a very simple recipe, just like the box of Jiffy. So I hope that you'll try this. Okay, our next recipe is country gravy, also known as black pepper gravy. And this is something that we eat a lot of. We love biscuits and gravy, and this is a recipe that we like to use. We actually usually buy the packets. I used to make it homemade, but then I found that the packets were so easy that I decided to start using them, and once I did, I didn't go back. But this recipe is the equivalent of a package, and it's so much cheaper, and once again, you know exactly what's in. You know, when you read all the ingredients there, you realize that you can prepare this however you like it with whatever seasonings you like. We'll go ahead and get started here, putting this together. Okay, for this recipe, we start off with 2 cups of flour, and there again, like we've said with the other recipes, that you can use whatever flour you like, but I'm using all-purpose flour. And we will put in 1 cup of dry milk. And 1/4 cup of cornstarch. And then we've already added all of the seasonings in the same little cup there. So we have 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of pepper, and 2 teaspoons of onion powder. The onion powder actually gives it a great flavor. And of course we need lots of pepper. So we'll go ahead and mix that up. Okay, so to make it, you will melt 2 to 3 tablespoons of fat of your choice. It could be butter, shortening, lard, bacon grease, or oil. And then add 3 tablespoons of the mix. And then you just kind of cook off the flour by cooking it a couple minutes, mixing it well. And then it will become kind of like a paste. Then you will whisk in 1 cup of water or milk, or a combination of both. Sometimes I add a little bit of heavy cream with part of the milk. So whisk well, and then heat until it's thickened, and season to taste. So you may need to add more salt or pepper, and no lumps because of the cornstarch in there. So it's a great recipe. You're going to want to try this. Okay, we're going to be making gravy mixes, but this is going to be brown gravy and chicken gravy. Have you ever bought these packets? I do use these, but not real often because of the sodium in them. And so I'm going, even though this is reduced sodium, it's still a lot of sodium in it. So I'm going to be making my own so I can control the sodium. Okay, we'll be making the beef gravy first, and then we're going to do a chicken gravy recipe. And I have to tell you that I usually buy sodium-free bouillon, and then I season. I do add a little salt when I'm cooking, but I can control the salt at the stove rather than purchasing something that is just loaded with sodium. You can't take it out once it's in there. So I actually have bouillon that doesn't, or it's in here, bouillon that doesn't have any sodium. So when I prepare the gravy, I'll add my own sodium. But normally you would have sodium in your bouillon. So for that reason, there is no salt in this recipe. So as you're making it, you'll just taste it and see if you think it needs any salt. But usually with the bouillon, you don't need any. This starts with 1 cup of flour, and then you add in 1/8 cup of cornstarch. What's this? Cornstarch wants to stick. And then 1/4 cup of beef bouillon for the beef. And then the seasonings are 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And then to make that, you will add you will melt 2 tablespoons of the fat of your choice. You can do butter, oil, or shortening, lard, and then stir in 2 tablespoons of the mix, and then whisk well, and then add in 1 cup of water. You can see the little pepper flakes. It smells good. I can smell the garlic and onion.
Yes, it's
very flavorful.
Very good.
One thing that we have learned now that we have cut back on sodium is that you actually can add a lot of flavor to your foods without so much salt by adding different seasonings. The chicken is basically the same thing. 1 cup of flour, and then 1/8 cup of cornstarch, and then 1/4 cup of chicken bouillon. And then in the seasoning bowl there, we have 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper.
Smells very good. Maybe we should just use them later.
Maybe we should.
And this makes like one serving, or this is
this you only use 2 tablespoons per recipe. To make a cup of gravy. Only use 2 tablespoons of it. So just think how far that's going to go.
Wow! Instead of one little mix bag.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and put these in our containers. We'll label them and put them in the pantry. Before you use your mixes, go ahead and shake the container just to kind of take care of any lumps that might be in there in case it's not stirred up real well. You're a wonderful helper.
Learn from the best.
All right, there we go. A chicken and a beef gravy mix to put in the pantry. One mix that we use quite a bit in our home is a cake mix. And I can make a homemade cake, but I often am in a hurry when it's time to make a dessert like that. And so I like the idea of having a box mix. But what I like even better is to have a box mix that I know the ingredients that are in there. I'm going to go ahead and make a vanilla cake mix. And this is just a single recipe. And with this recipe, it's very versatile, so you can change it up to make it different flavors. With yellow cake, you add 3 whole eggs, and with white cake, you add 4 egg whites only, no yolks. And so there you get the white cake mix. And it's not necessarily a huge difference, but if you're wanting, like the wedding cake look, it's a very simple recipe, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, the ingredients that we need for the vanilla cake is 2 1/4 cups of flour. I'm using all-purpose flour. There again, if you want to change the flour, that's up to you. And then we need 1 1/2 cups of granulated sugar or cane sugar. And then 2 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder. Yep. They all look the same. And then because I'm putting it on the shelf, I'm actually going to add vanilla powder. Now, if you don't have vanilla powder, don't buy it. It's 1 tablespoon of vanilla powder. Don't go out and buy it, but if you have it, it works great to put it on the shelf. But otherwise, you would just use vanilla extract when you're making the cake. And then lastly, we need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And remember, I've said before in recipes that it seems strange to add salt to a sweet treat, but salt actually enhances the flavor of whatever it is that you're making. So we'll go ahead and stir this up, and this time we're going to put it in a Ziploc bag, and then we will put the instructions on it. And when you're ready to make this, you will add 1 cup of milk or buttermilk, 1/2 cup of oil or butter softened, and then if you have not put in the vanilla powder at this time when you're getting ready to make it, you would add 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract and 3 large eggs for the yellow cake mix, or 4 egg whites for white cake mix. And then you will beat all of that with a mixer on medium high for about 1 minute, and then pour the batter into your prepared pans. You'll bake at 350, and if you're using an 8-inch or 2 8-inch pans, you will bake for 20 to 25 minutes. Cupcakes, 12 to 15 minutes, and a 9 by 13 would be 25 to 30 minutes. Cool before frosting. If you would like to make this a chocolate cake, you will just add 1/4 cup cocoa powder to the flour mix before you put the eggs and everything in. Make sure you stir that in really good. And to make it even yummier, substitute 1/2 of the milk with some strong coffee to make it like a chocolate mocha flavor. And if you want to make it a spice cake, you can add to the flour mixture 2.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, and 1/2 teaspoon of ground allspice. And then mix that in well, and you have a delicious spice cake. So I hope that you'll try it. Okay, one of the things that we'll be making is hot cocoa mix. We love hot cocoa in the wintertime, and anytime that it's a little cool outside, it just makes you feel all warm and cozy. So we are going to share with you a very simple recipe. I used to make this all the time when our kids were little, but I haven't really made the recipe in many years. But I still buy hot cocoa mix, but this year I thought I'd like to make my own. And then when Beth came this morning, she said that that was one thing she thought of too, is that's one thing we should make. So we both had the same idea, and I'll share this recipe with you. I think you're going to want to try it too. Okay, to make the recipe, we start off with 3 cups of dry milk. And if you are dairy-free, you're not able to drink milk, you actually can skip the milk. We'll start with 3 cups of dry milk, and then 1.5 cups of cocoa, unsweetened cocoa, 2 cups of powdered sugar,
I tried.
2 cups of powdered sugar, and then our vanilla coffee creamer is a little speckled. But one of the additions to the recipe, I always like to add the French vanilla creamer powder to it. It really adds a lot to it. We're going to add some chocolate chips. These are semi-sweet that we have pulsed in the food processor so that they're really fine. And they look kind of like PDQ chips. If you are from my generation, you know what that is. But little chunks of chocolate. And we're going to add that in. And that will just give it a little richer flavor. So this is going to be a really rich, creamy hot cocoa mix.
It might not be the best idea to just dump it in. Maybe maybe slowly scoop.
Great idea. So while she's finishing that, I'll just share with you some of the variations that you can make. You can add instant coffee to the mix in order to make it like a mocha, or you can also add peppermint extract. I would do that after you pour it into your cup. You can add a little peppermint extract or a peppermint stick. You can add in marshmallows. We're not going to add in marshmallows.
I need you to hold it.
Okay, sorry. If I have what I feel like is a lot left over, I might give a couple as gifts. And then I'll add marshmallows to those. And then I'll let the little ones add their own marshmallows. All those little ones in your life. Maybe the big ones too will enjoy it.
Yes, big ones also enjoy.
Sometimes dry milk is just a tad bit chunky. It will dissolve in the hot water or hot milk. But if you want to put it through your food processor to make it finer, go ahead and do that, or run it through a sieve. In order to make the hot chocolate, you will need 1/3 to 1/2 cup to 1 cup of hot water or hot milk. Lots of hot chocolate here. What pantry mixes do you find essential in your pantry? These are some of the things that I use quite a bit of. And today you saw how simple it was to put them all together. Just a little prep time, getting them ready, and then dumping the ingredients in the containers. It's as simple as that. You can tweak the recipe to make it however it suits your needs best for your family. And whether you're doing it for health reasons or diet or just convenience, it's really worth it. So I hope that you will make your own from scratch. You'll benefit greatly from it. But be sure to comment below what is your favorite pantry staples, the things that you find essential, and like and subscribe to the channel, and come back again for more videos. See you soon. Bye now. Yeah!
We got it done.
Okay.
Woo.
Do you like... Hi there. Just keep stirring, bring it to a boil, and then when it's thick as you want, maybe we should use the spoon or the bowl. You know what? Let's just dump it all back in there, and we'll use a big spoon.
Okay. Because my little spoon wasn't good enough.
It wasn't working so good.
It's partly a part where she's just gonna skip, so it's fine.
Now, let me just back up. And to make the great... I took my breath away. 2 tablespoons of the mix. Before you use your mixes, go ahead and shake the container. Much better for you, and you can or make sure everything. All that powder. 2 8-inch would be 20.